All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.
And what's going on? We are back. It's been too long of a hiatus. We're going to talk some Eagles training camp. A lot to get into. It's action-packed. There's a lot to dive into here. We have
game week.
There's game week as well. The Eagles play I believe it's the Baltimore Ravens on Saturday in Baltimore. So got to go over a lot here. A lot of stuff happening. The new offensive system is coming together. There's some standouts. Of course, there's some injuries. We'll get into all of that. But Matt, how are we doing? You ready to talk some birds?
Dude, it's like real football now.
Yeah,
I mean it's still preseason, but and like sickos like you and I will watch every single snap of every single game. But this is legit football. Like it's no more off season. We're in the swing of it. This is what we've been waiting for. It felt like forever. So it's nice to have actual stuff to talk about.
So the one thing I want to start with here is basically, of course, Vic Fangio's defense is doing what they do. Most of these players have been in the system for a number of years now. So you would expect that. You would expect the defense to be a little bit ahead of the offense, especially with the new system being implemented in for Jalen Hurts and the offensive playmakers and everything. But I'm really intrigued by one guy. I'm really intrigued by on the defensive side of the ball is what you're hearing about Jalyx Hunt and how he is playing. And it's something where, if he takes that next step and you have Jonathan Grenard, I know he's dealing with the pec thing. So it's an injury there that is a slow moving. So we may not, see him much in the preseason or maybe towards the end of training camp. But it really opens your eyes to see what happens with this edge rushing position, because you still have AK, Ebiketie, you have AJ Epinesa, you have Nolan Smith. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with it and how it rotates. And but I'm very intrigued by what I'm hearing about Jalyx Hunt. And, it could be an ultimate steal if he keeps literally progressing his game and getting better and better. It just makes it, it makes it awesome for the Eagles, but it also shows you that it does maybe make somebody expendable. And especially if you need a position, you may have to do a type of deal there. But I really like Jalyx Hunt. That's what I'm really interested and intrigued by.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been awesome to hear. It was awesome to see his, upward trajectory towards the end of last year. Obviously, he led the team in sacks and interceptions, which I don't know that I've ever seen before. I mean, it wasn't a ton of interceptions, but still, really, really awesome find there in the third round, especially for a guy that was a safety as of 4 years ago. Pretty wild, dude. Kudos to the front office for finding him and for taking a chance on him. It's been really cool to hear people talk about Jalyx in particular. I mean, the whole defensive front, but especially Jalyx about how he's borderline unblockable. We've heard him get by Mailata a couple times. And I saw in the last couple of days that he got by Lane, which is not an easy thing to do, even at 36. So it's super encouraging, like you said. And I think he's able to do this without Grenard on the other side, right? Without a true number one pass rushing threat on the other side. But I think, yes, his advancement is amazing. His development is amazing. But I think that also speaks to the dominance of the interior offensive line, right? That gives him the ability, and Grenard, hopefully, once he's healthy, gives the edge rushers the ability to be one-on-one, because they're going to be doubling either Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter, which means you're going to get, 3 or 4 one-on-ones with Jalyx Hunt, Jonathan Grenard, and one of the two big defensive tackles, or Moro Ojomo. So you've got some legitimate pass rush, and I'm really intrigued to see if his numbers and his momentum goes even further once Grenard's healthy, right? Once there's someone their ears back on the other end. So yeah, I agree. He's been awesome to hear about. I also want to call out the two guys I just mentioned, JC and Jordan Davis. They but like by all accounts, I mean, they are dominating in practice, and both of them. And Jordan Davis saying that Jalen Carter is officially 100% healthy is an amazing thing to hear. Vic Fangio said that he came in shape. He obviously got that big contract, which was well deserved. But from what I hear, there are a lot of stipulations in that contract. A lot of it was, are you going to come in shape? Are you going to do your physical therapy? Are you going to become a leader? Right? Like there's a lot of stipulation and incentive in that deal. And I think he's taking it seriously. So it's awesome to see that like 2024 Jalen might be back.
Yeah, and I think too, like when you take a look at the defensive side of the ball, and I want to stay on that side of the ball. We'll talk about the offense in next section, but I want to keep honed in on the defense. And I think too is losing to Kobe Dean, there's a leadership void, and I think Jordan Davis is one that's really taking it into his own to be a partial leader on that defensive side of the ball, especially if Brandon Graham's not going to be there this year, depending on what happens. There's another void. Like you need these guys, these guys to start stepping up. And you have Coop and Q, but they're still a little bit younger. But you have
a secondary, right? Like you almost need a leader on at each level of the defense.
Yeah, and JD perfect. Zach Bond. Zach Bond, I think to me is more of a leader by example. Kind of, this is what I'm going to do. Like that's always good there. Even I'm not saying that he's a leader, but Tariq Woolen coming from a team like Seattle, they just won the Super Bowl. But I think what you said, Jalen and JD are big, crucial cogs, and even Jonathan Grenard because he's a veteran. So
I think he'll be a good voice once he comes in. He seems like a pretty awesome teammate. Yeah.
So the other thing I want to bring up is the secondary, of course. Right now is looking pretty good when you have, Coop and Q and Woolen.
Yeah.
Like you have all those guys. And then I keep hearing Mac McWilliams is looking pretty good. He keeps showing some flashes, which is very good. You were super high on him coming out of the draft. There was a guy that you kept mentioning in our pre-draft stuff. And, he's taking that step. And it's good for him. Now, again, what does that say for guys like Jacorian Bennett and Keely Ringo and those guys? So that to me, I think that's going to be fun in the preseason to watch the battle for, the quarterback 4-5, like the end of the roster decisions there, because it's crucial because when you look at that and the safety position, Epps and Michael Carter are looking pretty good. Like what goes on with that with Makuba. So it's going to be some interesting players to watch when you look at the back end of the secondary there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one of the interesting things to watch there will be if they go light at that position, right? Like they may need to go heavier at offensive line, for example, because they have some guys that they want to develop that they might not want to lose to waivers. So like the question there is, do you have your top three, right? You have Coop, you have Q, you have Woolen, you have Epps that's in on nickel, you have Makuba, who by the way apparently is looking really good in camp, diagnosing well, looks fast, looks like he did.
Also Jonathan Jones, I forgot to mention him. He's the veteran they signed.
That's where I was going to go, is like you have those three, you have your starting five, and then once you go into dime, Fangio came out and said that Michael Carter is going to be that dime corner. So you have that dime corner. He also can play safety. So like that affords you to go a little lighter at that position because you have a guy who can play three different spots.
And Cole Wisniewski being hurt doesn't help his cause to make the roster. He may end up on that IR if he he's not healthy. So that's
But
another big thing because
I wonder if they go 3 safeties and then carry extra, defensive backs, corners, whatever you want to call it.
Like a JT Gray or a Andre Sam on, and then call them up for special teams purposes.
Yeah, I'm thinking JT Graham makes sense Gray because he's a vested veteran, so he wouldn't be prone to waivers. Yeah. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they do there. If they go lighter there because of versatility, like a Mac Williams that can play nickel and outside, like Michael Carter, we just said, can play 3 different positions. Jonathan Jones can play in and out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that battles out. And like, where does Ringo fall into this? Like, because he's borderline a Pro Bowl gunner, right? And you lost, we talked about this on our last pod, I think. We lost Sidney Brown as one of our top gunners. They were both tremendous in that role. So like, who takes that spot? Really, really interesting to see where that nets out. And like you said, Wisniewski going down, that opens up a spot for my man Gush, right?
Yeah.
Or Andre Sam, or Maximus Pulley, who I'm hearing a lot of really good things about. So really, it's going to be really fun to watch these preseason games to see how they configure that secondary moving forward.
The other thing too is like Trot Jr. is looking really good. I hear good things, about him, and and I think the best thing was Vic talking about that with getting Trot. He mixes it up with his inside backers because if there's a scenario where they need him, they're comfortable there. Not like, they're backups and playing with the second. He's playing them on the first team, so he gets them acclimated. And, same thing that they did with Campbell and Dean and Bond. It's good to have that. And even a guy like Chance Campbell. And when Vic mentions him, dude, I think the biggest thing with that is Vic mentions it and says it to the writers. You may want to put him on your list, like talking about the 53-man roster list. That's some super high praise for a guy like that. And it hurts the chances of a Deontay Lawson making the team if Chance Campbell is taking
or Smile Mondon.
Also Smile Mondon, yes.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe they go late there too. It's going to be really interesting because they have versatility. They have the ability, like they may need to go heavier in positions that they haven't done in the last couple of years because, especially on offense, because they're trying to build that youth.
Yeah. And Ty Robinson, it's a big year for him too.
He apparently it came on in the last 2 practices. Like that's a good thing.
You need that. I think that's somebody they need to basically break out of his shell and take that step.
Jahad Campbell apparently is doing extremely well in diagnosing the run, which was not necessarily a weakness in his game, but
as a young linebacker, it's something that it takes a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. And so it's really great to see that. I mean, it sounds like he's super comfortable there. This defense has the chance to be
really good,
really special. If Jonathan Grenard can come in and do what he's paid to do and stay healthy, and you can get a little bit of a bump from AK or Epineza, it's gonna be a really good defense, dude. Like, I mean, no shit, right? But I mean, this defense has a chance to be really, really good.
Yeah, and like anything can happen. As you take a look the last couple of days, and even the last week or so, all the injuries that we keep seeing. Laramie Tunsil has a torn triceps. He's going to have surgery. That's a huge loss for Washington. Brandon Coleman's going to be the left tackle, I was seeing. But like stuff like that, and in a blip of a second, something can change. Like, that stuff happens. Now, I want to flip it over here to the offensive side of the ball.
Let's do it.
You have the new offensive coordinator in Sean Mannion. You have, Jalen. Jalen seems a little bit more loose than he's been in recent years. Like, maybe it's just when you rid yourself of a little bit of negative energy, it helps. Definitely is something. But I think too is like, Makai Lemon hamstring thing. Devontae Smith has a little hamstring, so those guys aren't in there. But you're seeing the emergence of a Dontavian Wicks who's been in this system already.
Dude.
But you see the chemistry between him and Jalen talking about him and everything like that. Darius Cooper. We saw Darius Cooper in the preseason.
Your boy.
My boy. Yeah, exactly.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yes,
Johnny
year.
called him as his guy.
As an undrafted free agent back in
I was
April.
going to say, I don't even think we had been in camp yet or OTAs.
No.
And you were like, dude, this guy.
Just watching his Tarleton State stuff. And then just like in the mini camps, you're watching him out of the breaks, and it's just like, that's different.
He moves differently. Yeah.
Yeah. So, him taking that next step, it's great to see. Of course, Elijah Moore had some highlight stuff too. Like they, talking about him. You haven't heard too much about Hollywood Brown, but again, he's a veteran. He's not going anywhere. They gave him guaranteed money. But, it really shows you of like the wide receiver room could be pretty decent and not super lacking. Yeah, you lose AJ Brown, you lose a talent. I get that. And even Makai Lemon, like to me, you don't have to focus on, he needs to be, 6, 7, 800 yards. He's got to take those. If Wicks and Darius Cooper can give them, some run, and of course the backs being involved, and you still have Goddard, and you have Johnny Munt who's on the second team, and we'll see what Stowers does. Like there's young guys too. It's just
they have the luxury of being able to bring these guys on slowly.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. Huge. And that's what Howie does so well is like we say this all the time. People are like, oh, you gotta draft this, you gotta draft that. You gotta draft best player available. And Howie does a great job of drafting 2 or 3 years down the road. Like Markel Bell is a perfect example.
Yeah. I was going to say this offensive line, I think the depth on it, when we were kind of concerned, I think it's starting to come a little bit into shape that they may be a little bit okay depth-wise right now when you look at this.
And that was all dependent, and like we said, on the development of a guy like a Markel Bell, like a Drew Kendall, right? Like, can he play guard? We didn't know. We knew he was primarily a center. We knew he was one of the better centers in college football, but we didn't know that he could play guard. He's done it, dude. He took it seriously. He's up to, I think they said a little over 305. He looks noticeably bigger. He looks noticeably faster. He looks noticeably stronger. And I think he's gonna fit really well in that Cooper outside wide zone scheme that allows you to leverage your athleticism. So that's really good. And then you have Lampkin, right, who is starting to.
I'm really interested to watch him play in preseason.
Yeah, well, and we've seen this before where like we saw it on the defensive side of the ball where Devin White was like the guy, right? Like he was getting all the reps, whatever. And then you start to see that phase out, and you started to see Bond take more and more reps, right?
Yeah.
You saw Jake Majors taking those reps when Cam went down. That has shifted to, and at first I was like, oh shit, is Jake Majors like legit? Like, is that a steal? Because we're not there. We don't see the practices. But then you see that shift to Drew Kendall taking center reps, and then Lampkin taking center reps. And so like seeing that shift, and obviously this isn't a Devin White situation. I'm not calling Jake Majors a complete bust of a player pickup, but it's been interesting to see that kind of develop and mold as we go on, as these players get a little bit more comfortable with the scheme.
Yeah, and I think too, like what's going to be very interesting to watch is those battles for those depth offensive line positions.
Yeah,
like we know Markel Bell and Fred Johnson and Drew Kendall. Like I think those guys have spots locked.
Yeah.
But when you look at guys like Miles Hinton, and you have Cameron Williams, and you have Micah Morris and Willie Lampkin and Holland Pierce, like these guys, Jaden Roberts, I know did get banged up. Not sure.
He apparently is like, fine.
Okay. So that's at least okay. That's good.
Yeah. He's not out for the year like we initially heard. Yeah. But he's been limited in practice, but still not great for his chances of making it.
No. I think same thing too when you look at the tight end room. We've talked about the tight end room and over the years about not having any depth there. But when you have Goddard and Munt and Stowers, could there be a fourth tight end? Could you see, you still have Daquan Wright and Latu and Stone Smart, Calcaterra, EJ Jenkins. Like, it's going to be interesting. If the thing is, when we mentioned it on the defensive side of the ball, the special teams aspect, Cameron Latu is a great special teamer. And like, if he shows up on special teams again in the preseason and shows up in the preseason games, it may be hard to let him go. Like, it's going to be interesting the way the roster makeup, the roster construction is going to be, and who they keep, how many of one position, how many of another position they keep. I think that's really what's going to be interesting to me on where they go light and where they go heavy position wise.
Well, and it's interesting you brought that up because they have Latu at tight end 4 presumably, but he's also the first team fullback.
Yeah,
he's on every special teams unit, and he and they interestingly enough they have Steele at fullback 2.
I will say
that's kind of a fun battle there too, because
Steele number 34. Like, I didn't think about it when he got the number and stuff.
Kevin
Thinking
Turner.
about it more, I like that number.
Yeah,
For
I think he's going to be one of those guys that we like fall in love with as an Eagles fan base during preseason. Like, I think,
but it's okay to have him on the practice squad.
Yeah,
and you can
absolutely.
always, need him if something were to happen. But I think he's a perfect gritty type of player that, if he's on your practice squad, hey, if you need to call him up for a pinch, he can help you at fullback. He can help you on special teams. Yeah. Definitely see him being that type of role for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I think we kind of buried the lead here, but really interesting comments from Lane Johnson yesterday.
Oh, yes, we did. We had to get into that too.
So for anyone who hasn't heard, Lane Johnson was excused for a non-football injury, personal issue, which I initially thought was related to his depression and anxiety, which he's been very vocal about.
I believe his parents, right?
But yeah, so basically what he said was that his mom is not doing great, and his kids are soon to be teenagers, and when you get older, you have 2 championships under your belt, you're a perennial All-Pro and Pro Bowler, your priorities start to shift, right? And those priorities now shift to his kids and to his parents. And he indicated that it was interesting phrasing. He was like, probably, definitely, maybe my last year. So I think he kept the door open there a little bit, but he sounded pretty like concrete that he'd like to call it a year and go out on top. So, I think that explains a lot about why Markel Bell was immediately put into those right tackle 1, conversations. And, in the beginning of the year in OTAs, we saw a lot of, I'm going to butcher his name, John Ojonkwu. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Ojakwu.
Yeah, it's John.
I'm sorry if you're listening. I'm sorry, buddy. But he got some glowing praise. He's familiar with the scheme. He was taking a lot of those backup reps when Lane was out. Then that shifted to Fred Johnson, and then that shifted again to Markel Bell, similar to what we were seeing with Lampkin and Kendall. So really interesting to see that relationship with Lane and Markel. Lane came out and said he's one of the most mature rookies that he's ever been around. He never complains. He's always asking questions. He just wants to get better. Obviously, he's going to have some growing pains, as almost all rookie offensive linemen have. But really cool to hear Lane kind of take him under his wing and prop him up. And for Markel to be where he is at this point in his rookie season.
Yeah, I'm like the way he moves, how big he is. It's just he could be that Lane no longer here after this year. If he retires, you have that guy like Markel Bell that could step right. Like, that'd be perfect. And it's kind of what the Eagles have done in recent years of having that guy ready to step in when
exactly
the time comes. And the Cam Jurgens keep going to the 10. Like I'm hoping he stays healthy. That's one thing to keep your eyes on. Like the health is the big thing. Of course,
they don't seem to be like I haven't heard anything about what the injuries are,
or if it's just
maintenance, maybe
dehydration, stuff like that. I don't.
Or maybe he's just trying to be. Yeah, maybe he's on a pitch count, and maybe he's just
Landon had a maintenance day.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think it would be smart to give him a little bit of a break and listen to what he's saying about his body. One thing I want to touch on here real quick is the special teams. Like we've talked about offense, we've talked about defense. Man, from all accounts, has been a stud per usual. Like he's arguably the best player on our team. Like he's legit. He's awesome at what he does. There's a reason he got a 4-year extension. Jake Elliott is, I believe, 16 of 17 or 19 of 20. I forget. I think he's only missed one field goal from 40 plus, which is super encouraging. Long snapper Rocco seems like he's settled down a little bit, but I've heard that he had some pretty high snaps. There may be some concerns about the rotations he's getting on the football. Jimmy Kemsky did a nice article out there, and we've talked about this on the show in the past, where you need to get a certain amount of rotations so that when the holder receives the snap and he can put it right down and its laces out, and you don't have to spin it and adjust so that the kick is on time and there's not a hiccup in the operation. So interesting to watch that one too.
I was going to say it's going to be something to keep an eye on. To see potentially if something doesn't go that well, if they bring in a long snapper, if they bring in somebody. So
I'll do some digging to see who's out there, but I'm hopeful that they can have a young guy that can be there for 10 plus years. But special teams looking good. But this goes back to my conversation on our last pod, dude. Who's your punt returner? Because right now it's Covey, and like if you're sticking with Smitty, Wicks, Lemon, Hollywood, Cooper, and let's call it Moore, right? That's what, 5? That's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Covey is 6. Or Covey is 7.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Oh shit! Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, who's your? Obviously, you could get him on the practice squad and call him up, but then what? Once his shit is like, once he's out of elevations, then what? So I'm really interested to watch that. And we called it a couple weeks ago. This running back 3 position is going to come down to kick returns. I'm watching Pierce, dude. I'm watching Dameon Pierce. I think he could potentially supplant Shipley as running back 3.
I was going to text you, actually.
Had some drops.
Looking at Dameon Pierce, I'm like, his helmet's set up. I think he's RB3. Just
dude,
he's
got to be. He's got to be. It's interesting though. Shipley switched to the F7 Pro. He switched to the F7 Pro because I think
he's trying to save himself.
I think he heard me that the aesthetics were off. So really, it's going to be really interesting to see how this shapes out. And we've talked about it ad nauseum that like the bottom half of the roster it's all special teams. So pay attention to the preseason games on who contributes, yes, on offense and defense, but look who contributes on special teams.
So what you're saying is don't just watch the first possession or quarter. You got to watch the whole game. If you're a real one, you got to watch the whole game.
I understand why people don't do it. I put too much energy and obsession over the draft and free agency and everything. Like I'm too invested in these kids that are on the team that I just have to watch. I have to see how they develop as people,
especially the last preseason game.
Oh,
because it's nothing
fighting
but
for their lives, dude.
Nothing but third and fourth stringers.
It's literally fighting for their careers, and
we're legit. Like that's legit. You're watching a UFL game.
Yeah,
it's essentially what you're watching. They're just wearing.
You're watching kids who may never play again.
Yeah,
in the NFL at least. Well, yeah, I think that there are some really fun battles. We're gonna have some really hard decisions to make as a front office. I'm saying we like I'm involved, but I just going through the 53-man exercise on my own. It's tough. It's tough, dude. It's really tough. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes and how the bottom of the roster is developed. And the wide receiver and offensive line positions, I think, are going to, and I guess the defensive backs are really going to make the difference, right? And how they put those pieces together, because that's really going to dictate everything else.
And let's see who shines in the preseason games or who starts shining in practice, and you start hearing more about them. And, that's kind of, what we're going to get into. And again, we'll be back this week. We're going to, the preseason game is on Saturday. So we'll be back on Wednesday to talk some birds. And, of course we'll have some more updates as a couple of days of practice. And if we get anything else, the Eagles sign anybody, they do anything, any injuries, all of that we'll get into. We'll kind of talk a little bit about the preseason game, what we're excited for, who we want to watch, who we want to see, what we're looking into there. But it was fun to get back, talk a little bit about camp, since we had a lot to catch up on, a lot to dive into, a lot to get into here.
A lot
to get into. Foreshadowing. But no, it's going to be fun. We'll be back on that routine. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled. Make sure that you're subscribing. Make sure that you are following all the socials. And, the way we always end it with a very happy and joyful Go Birds.
Hey guys, it's J-Bo. Some people call me J-Bo Philly. I'm here with Big Dom. And check out All About the Birds. Go Birds.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Ian. Make sure you're following All About the Birds. I absolutely love their content.
Just wanted to give the guys over at All About the Birds a huge shout out.
Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the birds.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.